Oh, so here we go. Big floor because I just came back in the rain. Hello, it's I'm a bit shell-shocked and my face is a bit dirty. It is a butt workout today. It is in my bedroom simply because it is raining like mad outside. So we're going to start lying on our back. Neutral is where my hands are showing you there. My arms are out the way just simply because you see how I kind of wiggle? It gives me length in my spine, and then I'm just going to breathe. So the belly comes in on the inhale, goes out. That's your diaphragmatic breath. Inflate and open. Exhale, pull pubic bone to belly button. What we don't want to do is move the ribs. So it's not a bracing maneuver on an exhale. It's a drawing up and in, which could be a whole other video. If we can hold that and simply go into a marching feel. So the exhale brings the leg up. And this is just to start to get the abdominals, just to bring them some awareness before we move into the other things. As I say, the exhale is often helpful to come up with a move, and especially as we start to do the second leg, that's where you want to possibly take a stronger exhale and abdominal movement. And you can see there with my white duvet behind, my belly doesn't pop up. So inhale, exhale, one leg comes up, other, and you can see that. That's me doing it wrong. Now, please, you don't need to turn your head as I am. I'm just looking at myself in the camera because I'm a little bit narcissistic. And also arms down by your side, because that will actually help you keep your rib cage a little bit soft into the back. Hands come to your thighs, and this is the Kathy Grant slant board. It's a bridge. So we roll the pelvis up, and we are rolling. My arms tell me how high to come. If you see here, if I do some funky stuff with my body there, I lose that straight line from my knees to my hips to my shoulders. And you just articulate down from top of spine, middle to the bottom. And back into that neutral I showed you at the start. So you're coming up, there's a feeling of dragging your heels to your bottom, stretching your knees over your toes. Big focus for today is the little area that is just underneath your butt, which I will be pointing to in a moment. Please ignore my toes. Now I've said that, you'll be watching them. So there's this, not a butt squeeze, but you will feel your butt working, but there's no need to clench it. It's going to do its thing, okay? So you just do a few bridges, get the spine moving, turning onto the side, bend the bottom knee because it's going to be for stability. And that top hip, we want to reach it long and away from you. Leg just in line with the body, not coming higher because that's going to give us some different muscle work. And again, I'm focusing on that bit behind your butt. There you go, there's my hand touching it. And as clients watching this know, it's an area I love to prod you all. My arm is overhead simply so you can see that I'm not rolling forward or back or collapsing my waistline. So my aim is to keep really solid in my pelvis because then it's isolating my leg movement. So leg forward and back, we're going to add in a rotation, which is going to hit the glutes a little bit differently. So as my leg comes forward, it turns down. As it goes back, it turns out. And you can see that from my knee. Please, with the foot, just allow your foot to be relatively relaxed. Otherwise, it can tend to go a little bit into the lower leg. Again, long through the waistline. You're still zipped up into the belly. And I'd move my leg a little bit forward to give me more stability there. My left leg is not my happy leg to move. It's a leg that got affected for me when I slipped a disc about 5 years ago. So this is my leg that I have to think of a little bit more. If you need a pillow, please place it under your head or arm as mine is fine. Turning over, as ever, you get to see my bottom. And now I can really, whoop, there it is. Now you can see it and I'll point out where we want to get the feeling. So length, waist underneath, not too high, lengthen, and forward and back. So there's the bit. That's where you want to touch and feel that. It's called the gluteal fold. It's not a big butt squeeze. It's from a bone on the outside part of your hip towards the sacrum. That's the bit that we're really going to try to fire up, especially with the rotation. No hip wiggling. So we want to keep the butt as still as we can. And please do feel what's happening in the musculature under there. That line I just drew with my hands, that's the kind of pulley line that we're looking at. So the knee turns down when it goes forward, out when it comes back. The arm over the head is a little bit of a challenge for your balance, and it does actually keep me quite long. So it's a nice variation if you're feeling like you want a challenge. If you want more challenge, do feel free to straighten the bottom leg, but really watch that your hips stay still. This is an isolation move for the glute area muscles. Oh, and there it is then. We come back into our bridge position. There's my list on the floor, you can see it. All right, so I've got my length back up into the bridge, and so we're going to add the challenge here by picking one leg up. My arms are out the way again so you can see. Leg folds in at the hip joint, pelvis as quiet as we can do it. So it's moving the hip in its socket is our aim. The challenge is more on the supporting leg. So you want to feel that that leg stays pushing and solid on the ground as the other one comes into action. Again, keeping that long body line that we found in our bridge initially. Please do as many as you feel without losing your form. To take a little bit of a challenge and more endurance, one leg comes up, stays up, and we just push in and up. Now, what often happens here is feet tend to rock out onto the little toes, so make sure you're in the inside edge as well into your big toe. And also the waistline of the leg that's in the air tends to shorten. So that's what my hand is kind of doing. It's trying to say, hey, body, stay long in the leg that's lifted. So if your hamstrings are often a little bit on the shorter side, that's definitely why the hip would lift. So if that's the case, just move your knee away from you or put your hand there and give it a friendly push away, keeping the length. We set the core at the beginning. Please do take that awareness into your zip, abdominals, whatever you want to call them, to keep them on nice and strong. This is not part of the move, it's just a little roll up. Whee! Flip it over if you need to roll over. I'm looking at my list to go, what was I doing next? We're coming into swan, so the chest lift. Balanced workout for the front and back of the body, long through the legs. Again, there's a small lift into your core here, not a big brace. It's still a zip even though your belly's on the floor. Head comes through a little bit first. We start to come up through that mid-upper back, and beautiful feeling of sort of dragging your body along the mat as you lift. That's going to help your shoulders come down a little bit, find the bra strap or heart rate monitor line for guys out there. That's the bit that really we're trying to mobilize through the thoracic spine. Notice if your butt starts to clench immediately or your shoulders hike up. Two things to notice and bring awareness to. So the shoulders soften down just a little bit, to drag them down your back. And if you've got it in your spine, come up a little higher, but please be careful where your head went, which is why I did the funky head thing there, flicks back. You want to stay long into the back. Coming up, hands and knees together. It's going to be easier for our next move. Hands as wide as your body. And hey, check out that gut. It just, my belly just hangs down. So I'm trying to create my length through my body and not let my chest sag or my arms take the brunt of my weight. Beautiful cat stretch, that long line from head down to butt. So that's your arching position. It's an angry cat. And then when you come this way, the tail goes up, the head looks up forward a little bit, and you create the kind of hammock shape in your spine. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful mobilization for your back. Now we find length in between those two. Again, the belly pulls in and up. One leg comes up with no pelvis movement, and it comes back down when we change. So now and again, I'm checking that my body line is staying and I'm keeping the lift through my chest. And the point is, the leg that you're balancing on is, again, trying to hold you from moving. The leg that lifts, it's underneath that butt line feeling that I'm trying to get. So it's long, top of the head reaching. I could do with lifting my head up just slightly for myself there, to be honest. And the back, we're aiming to keep ourselves still. Again, this is an isolation thing for your butt, basically. You want to keep the hip from shifting or twisting. Oh, look, great view of my butt. We're going to actually add a side movement. So it comes up, out to the side without dropping, comes back to center line and comes back in. So the supporting leg wants to work quite well. That's what's stopping you. Ooh, lifted my hip a wee bit there on my right leg going. Again, my left leg is not my most stable side on some moves. Up, out, and I'm not moving massively. I'm moving enough to challenge the hip joint, but not so much that I lose my form. Way better for myself on there. Focus might be whichever leg is lifted, think that that knee points directly to the floor and doesn't turn out. Glass of wine on your butt. I've recorded this, it's almost wine time. So your butt wants to stay as still as you can as you do it. And you'll see here when I turn side on, it goes up, out, waistline long, no collapsing through the upper body. So there is a lot to focus on. I'm never going to deny when then you do movement well, there's a constant body scanning. okay? On the next one, we're going to come up onto our hands and knees. So now we bring all that into standing because it's typically where we live. We don't live on our hands and knees. Toes tuck under at the back, which is great. You want to get some toe flexion. And I knew it was only going to be my upper body you saw, and that's because I'm more interested in what's happening in the legs. So legs go down, knee comes down close to the floor, keeping your form. If it doesn't come all the way down, it might mean that we have to look at something else in you, which is hard for me to cover on the video. So you'll see I'm grabbing my bum again and lifting my toes. Bad habit I have there. So as I'm coming up, it's a push through the front heel into the glute, and I'm thinking straight up. So it is purely leg movement that's going on. So you'll see from the front what can tend to happen is you shift the hips. So all that stuff you did lying down is hopefully prepping you to be in a beautiful line and in good alignment when, again, you're isolating what's going on in your hips. If your hands are on your hips, it gives you the chance to feel what's going on as my straight line hip bone to hip bone. But please don't rest on your arms. You want the work, again, it stays in the core. Now to challenge us, we're taking one leg behind the other, so it's called a curtsy lunge. There is a little tendency for the hip to shift on this one. And that is what happens in walking, but it's if it collapses too much. Check out the back foot every now and again, because that foot often does something funky. You want to stay in the inside edge from the big toe to the ankle bone, which will help you connect into the inner thigh, and again actually joins up to the core. So there's lots of different places to focus and think, well, how am I moving? Really keep yourself in your body. Other leg comes forward, other leg goes back. Pretend you've just met the Queen of England, and if I put my best British voice on now, maybe one day I will. But then again, maybe not. Check out the back foot, get that butt lifting and pressing into the front heel, huge heel connection for our hamstrings and glute to work, which also happens when we're walking. My hands went into my lower back there because I actually wanted to feel that my spine was staying still and I was staying in my upright, which I have a habit of falling forward, going into what we call a banana. Now, challenge on the sideward plane, so you step to the side and up wee. Option here is you can tap the foot to the floor, or if you're feeling good, pick the leg up and the supporting leg again will have to balance you. Hip hike, steady. Not always the way we move in the life, and I understand that, but we're trying to really think, how can I work my hip joint right now? So the leg comes up, you're going to get balance on the front, on the inside leg, on the standing leg, on the inside and the outside. And just so we got a little bit of spine movement in there, I added a twist. Now, my spine was not as straight as I would like it on that one, so I need to lift my chest up a wee bit more. Again, no soul string. We keep those hips steady, lifted. And you can add different twists. We could twist across the body, we could reach our arm overhead. I'm just taking a diagonal across to my knee stroke ankle because it's simple. And a lot of the time I like to keep things simple. That's a bit of a thing in life as well. Again, count how many you do, be as even as you can each side. If one side maybe shows itself to be not so clever, a couple more extra on that side, but maintaining form. Squats, so let's sit on the toilet. Lots of things go wrong in squats. Whee, that's my normal banana. So as I'm coming up, that butt coming up again. We want your butt to go back and your knees to come forward. Ankle movement is often jammed, so that's why the more I encourage my knees to go forward, the better. Get my list to have a quick look. So I want my knees over toes is fine as long as the butt equally goes back. When we stand, we're finding our tall posture, not squeeze. You don't need to over squeeze your bum to come up. It's a wee lift. It's a lift of the butt cheeks, not a butt clench. Coming from the front, parallel or turned out. If you're more prone to turning your legs out, I would recommend you stay parallel or turned in, which I'll show you in a sec. Again, my body leans forward, my butt goes back, my knees come forward. It's an even bend through those three joints. Back to parallel. That's where my stiffness comes in. Oh, and internal is not the easiest of things for our hip joints, so please don't expect yourself to go so low, but it's great to work the joint in all these different ways. If you want to work your hip joint, go into the mobilization one that we did last week. We can go wide and parallel. Cossack arms overhead could be more challenging. We're going to take little pulses. If you're a skier, great move, but again, there I am, touching my bum. Lift through the belly. You can see my shin and my spine are pretty much parallel lines. That's what we're looking for when you do the squat. Big roll down to finish as always to set symmetry. Feet 3-4 inches apart. Lift through your belly on the way down. Head heavy will help your whole stretch. Okay, here's my belly lift. Okay, space underneath. I have a little bit of tightness in my back today, so I can see a flat spot there. Bring yourself to upright. Once you've done it, you do the dance. Oh, rainy day.